Hi, and welcome to Trex Academy, where you can learn everything you need to know about building your deck project. I'm Devin, and I'm here with Lindsay, and in this video, you'll learn how to lay out and build your stairway. Okay, let's get started.
Great. Now, as a DIYer, I've always found stairs to be pretty intimidating. I'm sure a lot of DIYers feel the same way.
I can see that, a little bit of mystery to it.
There really is.
Yeah.
However, I see you've got quite a setup ready for us here today. So where are we starting with this?
Okay, right. So you're referring to the setup would be, got my story pole here.
Got a few things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this straight 2x4.
Okay.
It's just going to represent the top of my finished deck.
Okay, and I see you've accounted for the decking as well.
Right,
okay.
Yeah. So some of this just helps visualization. I feel like that helps take a little bit of the mystery of stairs away.
Okay.
Okay, so that's going to be the height of our deck. I have this story pole here, and I have a mark at every 7 3/4 inches.
Okay.
That's going to be the maximum riser height for our jurisdiction.
All right,
Okay.
so that
Give that to
is code, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone's going to need to check their own municipality to see what their code says.
Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot.
All right. So ours is 7 3/4,
Right.
you said.
And remember, we're looking for both our rise and our run, but we're going to go ahead and start with our rise.
Okay.
Okay.
So for the rise, and that's how high each stair is,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay. So we could put in 1, 2, 3, a little over 4 is what that's measuring.
Right. So obviously we're not going to have a partial step.
Right.
So we're going to round down to 4 risers total.
Okay. If we round down though, wouldn't that make each rise over the 7 3/4 max?
Yeah, it would. But I know I'm going to have a concrete pad just out here a little bit. So that's going to actually bring some height back. So we will be under that 7 3/4 maximum.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have roughly what our rises
we have the
will
number
be.
of risers, right? We don't have an exact measurement.
Okay.
But now we can move on to a run.
All right.
Because we actually need to get away from the deck to get the proper measurement of what our rises will be so we can get the exact riser height.
So we need to figure out where our staircase ends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So to do that, we have a mock-up here. The materials that we're going to be using are Trex enhanced deck boards. Got 2 of those, 5.5 inches each.
So about 11 inches.
11 inches plus our 1/4 inch gap,
All right, 11 1/4.
and that'll be our run.
Okay.
So we need to talk though about how many runs we'll have.
Right.
We've already determined 4 risers, but our frame actually works as one of our risers.
That makes sense.
So our actual stringer though, it'll be notched out with 3 rises, 3 runs.
Okay.
Okay, so 11 1/4 times those 3 runs.
Will be 33 3/4.
33 3/4.
So that'll be the end of our staircase?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That'll be the front of our staircase. So we'll go ahead and measure out away from our frame.
Okay. I
You
will
can make a
hand
line.
this
Okay.
to you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have you measure or mark that if you don't mind.
Got 33 3/4.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
Just like you said, that's the front of that staircase.
Okay.
And now we can bring in, really just going to use this as an aid to measure off of, but you can see I'm putting this on top of that concrete form that I made.
Right.
And the reason is this is going to be the height of that concrete pad.
Okay.
So actually, if you'll hold this for 1 second, it is important to have a hard surface at the bottom of our staircase, okay? That is dictated by code. They'll also dictate the material that you can use in some cases and the dimensions of what that should be.
So check the code.
Always check the code. All right, so the materials that you could use, what could be concrete, it could be pavers or brick in some jurisdiction. Those are all hard materials, right?
Okay.
But you just know for sure it's not going to be something like sand or pea gravel. Something like that would definitely not be considered hard.
All right.
Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so go ahead and rest that on top of there because that'll be the bottom of our stairs.
Now I'll get it over to that line there.
There you go. You just make sure that's straight up and down.
Yep. Let me do that.
There we go. So bottom of our staircase to the top of our staircase, which will include the top of our deck. Just get you a line right there.
Okay.
Okay, total riser height.
All right.
That's what we've just measured.
Great. So we've measured the top of our concrete pad or bottom of our stairs.
Exactly.
And then we've got the top of our deck.
Nailed it.
So now that we have this measurement, and I will measure that right now, we should be able to find our exact riser height. Yes?
Yeah. Right on.
So we've got exactly 30 inches.
30 inches, perfect.
All right, so 30 inches, and we've got 4 risers that we need. So each riser will be 7.5 inches.
7.5 inches, perfect.
Which is below the 7 3/4
So
max.
we're in good shape.
All right.
So one more thing though, I want you to take a second to think about, we found the front of that staircase.
Yes.
Came out here, right? Really important to measure down from that point instead of just using the measurement that we could have pulled from right next to the frame.
Okay.
So the main reason is there's a couple different factors and each deck's gonna be different. It's pretty flat out here, so maybe there won't be that much variation whether we're right here or 10 foot out from the house. But let's say that you have a decent grade going away from the house. That could greatly change, right? It might even change the number of risers that you have in the project.
Yeah, definitely.
You could also have a deck that's maybe 6 foot higher in the air. Same thing, your staircase would now come out much further away and you could have a different dimension, different number of risers.
Got it.
So that's why it's really important to check that.
Okay.
Okay? So we have our rise,
Yes.
7 1/4, 7.5.
7.5,
7.5. So now we're gonna talk about our run and how to get our run exactly.
Okay, so we know that this is 11 1/4 inches.
Right.
But I'm assuming since we have to do another calculation, we're not going to include this overhang here.
Right, yeah, because this is gonna be our stringer. This is gonna be what the material sits on top of.
Okay, so we want this bit.
Yeah, we want that inside measurement, perfect.
All right.
So 11
So
1/4.
we'll take 11 1/4 minus the overhang minus the
fascia material. Yeah,
So that should be, what, like 10 inches?
10 inches, exactly 10 inches. And since we have this mock-up, we can use that to double check our work.
Okay.
There you go.
Exactly 10 inches.
So that'll be our run.
All right, so we have our run at 10 inches, our rise at 7.5 inches. So I think we're ready to cut our stringers.
Notch the stringer out, yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, sounds good.
So now we're ready to start notching these stringers.
Okay.
But first, I want to show you a couple different options that we have. Pretty common to see this one on a work site.
All right.
Okay, so this is a framing square, a couple clamps on it. And really one of the great things about this as a professional, let's say I'm working on a really big job and I have multiple staircases.
Sure.
Which could mean that my rise and run might change depending on, you know, how they're set up. So in that case, I can very easily just change one of the positions of my clamps because one of these is going to be my run and the other is just going to be set at that rise.
Got it. All right.
Okay, so really useful tool.
Okay.
But let's say that you're a DIYer and maybe you've already picked up quite a few tools. You don't want to buy any more tools. So instead, what we can do is actually make a template that can do the same thing.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty neat, right? So you
Yeah.
can see our rise and our run. So we really just do the same thing. We're going to be measuring for the rise, measuring for the run. The only difference is between that framing square is this is going to be like a one-time use kind of thing, right?
Got it.
You might not be using that same rise and run on another staircase.
But it's just scrap pieces of wood
exactly.
anyway, right?
Yeah, you'll have them around regardless.
Okay.
So we're going to start by cutting one from a 2x12.
Okay.
2x12 will always be the material that you use for stair stringers.
All right.
So important to note that.
Good to know.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, I'm going to square this up first
Right.
because we know it doesn't come square from the mill.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, so from here, we just need to measure and mark the rise and our run.
Okay.
Our run was 10.
And rise was 7.5.
Exactly.
Cool.
Go whichever way you want.
All right. We'll mark our run right here
Okay.
and our rise at 7.5. Right
That
there.
level.
Awesome.
We'll use a straight edge to connect those.
Okay.
And you'll see once we connect that, we're going to have that same triangle we have on our tool, or our pattern.
Can you just hold that
Yeah,
edge right
sure.
there and make sure it doesn't slip around on me? And we should be good.
All right, very nice. Looks good. Okay, so from here we'll just cut it out and we'll attach it to a 2x4 to act again as that, basically hold it flush so we don't have to try to hold it flush and mark at the same time.
All right.
Go ahead and move these out of the way.
Okay.
Now we're ready to start marking out or transferring the rise and run to our stringer.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, and actually grab this, so go ahead and put that in position.
Okay.
Again, nice that we have this, right, to keep everything flush.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay.
All right.
So now you can see our first rise.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring in this level right here, and that's actually going to be the bottom of this stairway.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see we could work either way. This is just a good visual representation of where we're starting.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the part that goes on that concrete pad,
Got it.
and we'll start to go up.
Okay.
Go ahead and mark those. And it's really important to remember we need to be tight all the way to the corner. And
Yep.
you'll see why, because now we're going to shift this down matching up this
Oh,
corner.
I
There you
see.
go. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to come all the way out to that,
Yep.
to the edge. We're just continuing the process until obviously you have the number of rises and runs that you need for your stairway.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this will be,
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 rises.
and this will be our third run right
Yep,
here.
that'll be it.
Okay.
So from here we can bring our straight edge back in,
All right.
just like that. Hold that in place, make a mark right here, and then
Okay.
that's going to be the part that attaches to the header of our frame. All right,
And there we are.
there we go. 1 stringer down.
All right.
So now we need to cut it out, and we'll be making 6 more, so 7 total stringers.
Okay.
Those need to be 9-inch apart, 9-inch on center, right? We kind of talked about that before with that box step,
Right.
because
yeah.
we're using Trex enhanced deck boards.
Got it.
Okay?
All
All right, let's get to cutting.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna leave this one up to you.
All right. I think I can handle it.
Okay, stringer looks great.
Thanks.
Obviously we have 1 more cut left to make,
Yep.
but we have to make a little adjustment. So let's go ahead and stand this up
All right.
as if it were an installed staircase.
Got it.
So I'm gonna show you with a mock-up exactly why we need to make an adjustment right here.
Okay.
Because our rise is gonna be the same throughout. Doesn't matter if we have 3, like in this case, or if we have 6, right? Staircase with 6 steps. So I'm gonna bring in this mock-up of our deck boards and our fascia. And now you can see from the top of the deck board, top of the next board, same height, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the same height as here, top of the deck board to that deck board.
Right.
Now the issue is, when you come down here, you can see we don't have a deck board on the ground, right?
Right.
Or on our concrete pad that we'll be setting this on.
Mm-hmm.
So, easy remedy. We just bring this up by 1 inch, and now we know that every step from the concrete pad, top of the deck board to the top of the next, will be the same throughout.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Seems easy enough.
It really is. So, let's set it down. It's as easy as measuring 1 inch away. We'll make 2 marks, and then we'll just transfer that line across.
There you
Thank
go.
you. And then typically, once I have those lines made, I just like to make a visual indicator so I know where to cut. Obviously, since we're not using this as well, same thing.
Yeah.
So, however you like to do it. But from here, we'll just cut that, and we'll have our first stringer.
Okay. Now we do want to treat these cut edges, right?
Yeah, so we've always been treating cut edges all along the way, but this has to be the most important part to make sure you treat all the way around. So not only do we have cuts on multiple angles, but we've also cut really far into that 2x12, and the treatment, the original treatment, hasn't gone that far, okay?
Yep.
So really important to treat because we do not want our stairs to fail.
Makes sense.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one.
Hand that to
Thank
you.
you. There we go. First stringer done.
All right.
Before we move on any further in the stair process, we wanted to show you really quickly how we attach our header right here. So the main purpose of installing the header is going to be for the lateral forces that are going to be enacted on the stairway,
Yeah.
right? So we have 2 forces, that vertical force and also the lateral force, which I just mentioned. Just imagine that you have a stairway built and there is no header here with our stair landing about right in there.
Yeah.
The whole stairway is just going to fall over, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So that's what the header gives us. So the assembly of this is just our 4x4 posts, which we have 2 of. And then just to show you what this looks like, it's going to go just something like that behind our rim joist. And then we're using the blocking that we have for our post here. So we have a perfect hole, a 3.5 inch hole, obviously, because our post here. And then we have that post blocking behind that. So the way we attach this all together is using an 8-inch timber screw through the front rim joist, through the post, and into that blocking.
Yep.
Okay.
Just makes it super sturdy.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, which is important for stairs, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so back to the header a little bit. A couple things you need to point out. First of all, the length of that header is going to be cut to the width of our stairway.
Yep.
Okay, a couple of reasons that's important. Number one, it's really going to help us when we go to set up our Newel post or these bottom rail posts. And also, it's going to help us with installation of the stringers because we know it's the right size, so we'll have a stringer on each end and then we can divide up where the rest of those stringers go. Another thing to point out, you can see we actually have a bevel on what's going to be the bottom of that header. And that's just going to support our straps as we install those on the back they'll be able to wrap around and really nicely fit onto those stringers.
Yeah, and this bevel is about 35 degrees or so, you'd say, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you can be somewhere between 32 to 38 degrees. Doesn't have to be super accurate, but it is nice to have whenever you're installing those straps.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in place.
All right.
Put that right against those 4x4 blocks.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, and then now we're using 5-inch timber screws going through the header and into that blocking. Okay, very nice. Now we're ready to start working on finding the position of those bottom newel posts or bottom steel rail posts.
Yep.
Okay, so this is going to be the first step in the actual assembly of our staircase. Okay, so to get this process started, we have to think through the process a little bit. We have our stair stringers cut, and we talked about this a little bit before, but we're going to have one stringer on each end of our header here.
Okay.
Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and measure down the height of one of our risers.
Okay. And that's 7.5 inches, right?
Yep, 7.5 inches.
And are we measuring? Yeah, okay, I see you're measuring from the frame and not the deck.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because we don't have finished material or deck boards on any of our stringers, so we want to be at the top of where that stair is going to be.
All right.
Okay, so with those marks made, let's go ahead and bring in our first 2 stringers.
Sounds good.
And we'll just clamp those in place to hold them temporarily. Also, obviously, we're lining the top of that stringer up with the marks that we just made.
Okay. And it should be flush with the edge of the frame, right?
Absolutely.
Or the edge of the header
Yep.
board. Okay.
There we go.
I need a third hand.
Yeah, it would help, right?
Right. Okay, actually, you
should
know
we use
what?
that
I have a
block?
third hand. Let's use this.
There we go.
There we go. There
Okay.
we go.
Very nice.
Slide that back out. All right, all
So,
set.
a couple things. Obviously, we get to see a visual representation now of what that stairway is going to look like, just how wide it's going to be, kind of how it fits together with the rest of the deck. But also, at this point, we can now find the location of those bottom posts. So let's just go ahead and set these 4x4s in right here. We want this to be flush with the end of that stringer, and we also have to think about the rim board that's going to go right in front of this. So when this is actually installed, it'll go flush with our stringer and then up against that rim board, just like that. Let's go ahead and clamp that in place. There we go. And now once this is clamped in, again, we can work hands-free, which is always nice, especially if you're working alone, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we're almost ready to mark the locations for these posts. The last thing we need to do is just make sure that this stringer is square with their deck frame. Let's pull out a square.
All right.
We'll check that. All right, good right there.
Just need to come over a tiny bit.
Okay,
And I am good.
good to go?
Yep.
All right, so from here, we're just using this 4x4 as a template, and we'll just paint all the way around it, tracing it to give us a pattern of exactly where that post is gonna go.
Great.
Then we'll just remove this assembly and then paint an 8-inch diameter circle around that, and that'll give us the area that we need to dig out for that post hole.
Sounds good.
All right, go ahead and make this mark.
Well, we just finished digging our post holes. What's next?
All right, so from here, we're gonna be attaching a support block to the front of our rim joist, and that's
Okay.
just gonna help us while we install our stringers. It's gonna give us a couple things.
All right.
First of all, it's gonna work as a helping hand so we can attach them temporarily and not have to be trying to hold it while attaching it.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing though that that's going to give us is the bottom of this is going to act as a, well, basically a
Like
stopper.
an arm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we've used a few times.
Exactly, as
yeah.
we were doing our deck boards, right? So as we bring these up, we know exactly where they're going to stop. And
Yep.
they're going to be perfectly in line all the way across.
Great.
Okay. So to lay out this support block, what we did first is we cut this board to length. It's going to be the same width as our header, which again is the same width as that stairway as well.
Okay.
All right, so this is just 2x material. Rip that down so it's right around 1.5 by 1.5 inches.
Okay.
Something like that should be just fine. Okay, so as far as laying out all of our stringers, we know we're going to have a stringer on both outside ends.
Yes.
Okay, so stringer down there,
Mm-hmm.
stringer right here. We also know that our post locations for these Newel posts at the bottom, these are going to be right in line.
Okay.
Same thing over there.
Yep.
So you can see we have a stringer, the space for our post, and then we'll have another stringer on the outside of that post to help support that assembly.
Makes sense.
Okay. Same thing over there.
Yep. Stringer, post, stringer.
Yep. And then we have a space in between both of those, which obviously we're going to have stringers to support our stairs there as well. So in our case, we just needed to find that space, which was 36 inches, and divide that up to make sure that none of our stringer spans are more than 9 inches on center.
Okay. Now, the 9 inches on center, is that dictated by code?
Right, so that's actually part of the evaluation report on these deck boards.
Okay.
For example, the Trex Enhance that we're using is 9 inches on center, but if you were to go with Transcends, that would be 12 inches on center.
Okay.
Okay, so always need to check that out.
Gotcha.
All right, so in our case, when we divided that up, we ended up with 4 bays total, and then 3 stringers in the middle of that span. So just to recap, we'll have 2 stringers on that side, on both sides of the post. Same thing here. And then in the middle, we'll have those 3 stringers.
Cool.
It'll be a nice sturdy connection for those stairs.
Sounds good.
So now we're ready to come down here and actually install this. Let's go ahead and put our ears in.
All right.
We did make a mark at 7.5 inches down from the top of that frame, and that's going to be the bottom of our support block here.
Okay.
But to make the installation a little bit easier, we're just going to go ahead and mark the top of that. Obviously, it'll be a little easier for us to see.
Yeah.
So we'll just subtract the thickness of our support block.
Okay.
It'll be 1.5 inches.
Okay. So 6 inches is where we'll be.
Right at 6 inches.
And also measuring from the frame.
Yeah,
again,
still
not the
staying down
deck,
from the top of
right.
the frame.
Okay.
Perfect. Go in here. Since we also have a fastener in the middle, I'm going to make a mark here. There we go. Okay, so now we can bring that support block in.
All right.
Again, let's just make sure that we have that flush with our header here. Yeah, I'm good here.
I am also good.
All
right
right.
here. Yep. Great.
There we go. You want to get that in?
Yep.
There we go.
Great.
So now you can see that as we bring in all these stringers, this is going to act as a stop, just like that. As we install all of those are going to be straight in line.
Gotcha.
So let's go ahead and attach our first outside stringers.
Okay.
Again, making sure that we're flush with the header.
Yep.
Using these fasteners that we preset into the top of that support block, which really makes the whole process really easy.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, very nice.
All
So
right.
look at that, again, hands-free. It's gonna be
Yep.
really easy to work. Again, if you're alone, I think this is a great thing to do.
Cool.
Okay, so now we're ready to bring in that concrete form.
Okay.
We're gonna bring that in, get it in the correct position, and then we'll start to level it.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's go ahead and get our concrete form in place.
Right.
And you can see that we have already dug a spot for it, but there are still a few things that we have to do before we're ready to pour concrete.
Okay.
So one is gonna be that we need to make sure that we have our form parallel with the front of our deck.
Makes sense.
We're also gonna need to make sure that we level it and that we square it all up.
Okay.
So again, we're gonna be pouring in concrete, so we want this to be as straight and square and again, parallel to our deck as possible.
Gotcha.
So the first step, like I said, is gonna be to make sure that it's parallel.
Okay.
This is gonna be really easy because we already have both of our stringers in place. So we know that our stringers are gonna be resting by about 1/4 inch on this heel on the form,
Okay.
and the rest of that stringer is gonna be resting on our concrete pad.
Got it.
With that being said, we just need to move that into position where you can see that just 1/4 inch of our heel is gonna be on that form.
All right. Yep. I think that's good over here.
Good there?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. It really is that easy. So now we know that the back of our form is parallel.
Great.
Okay, so let's move on from here and we're gonna start on this outside corner.
Okay.
A couple things we're gonna have to do here. One is gonna be we need to square up this stringer.
Okay.
And the reason we're gonna be doing that is, if you don't mind,
Oh,
just
sure.
grab that spacer that we have.
Yep.
So this is a spacer made of the Trex material that we're using, our fascia plus the spacer. Because that's
See
gonna
that right
be,
here.
yeah, that's gonna be the outside finished width of our stringers. Okay, so just clamp that in place right
I'm gonna
there.
hand that to you to
Yeah,
hold on
sure.
to while I grab this clamp. Okay.
Okay. There we go. And so we're using this as a tool to get this corner right here parallel with the side of our deck. So here's what we're looking for because of the way that we designed this concrete pad in our stairway. The way that we want our Trex fascia to lie is going to be flush with the edge of that concrete pad. So in our case, that means all we need to do is then shift that concrete form to where it goes right up against that fascia.
Okay.
And then we know we're in the right spot.
Sounds easy.
So I'm gonna have you do that while I hold this stringer square.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold that right there.
Right, and you're square right now?
Yep. So now you'll just push that. But the whole time we need to keep in mind that we need to stay parallel.
All right, so we want to keep that 1/4 inch, right?
Yep, exactly. I'm good back here.
Ooh, sorry.
That's all right.
There we go. All right, I think we're good here.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. So now we're gonna bring that corner up.
Okay.
We talked before, our stairway total is gonna be 30 inches from the bottom to the top. So let's go ahead and grab this 2x4. We're just gonna go ahead and set that on top of the deck. And then if you remember the bottom of this 2x4, it's gonna represent the top of our deck. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that just extends the top of that deck out here further, which makes this really easy to work with our form.
Yeah.
So again, we know the bottom of our stairway is gonna be 30 inches from the top. So that means the top of our concrete pad is gonna be 30 inches as well.
Makes sense.
What we'll do is I'm just gonna measure down from the top of this 2x4. And then what I'll have you do is just pull that form up until we're right at 30 inches to the bottom of this 2x4.
And I have this little shim to kind of help here.
Be great to just hold it in place.
Yep.
About another 1/2 inch.
Ooh, and let me get that 1/4 inch straight again.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, a little bit more.
Okay.
Got that. There we go. Very nice. Okay, but again, the whole way we need to check on everything that we've got in line so far. So you said you already lined it up with the 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch is good.
I'm just gonna check square.
Okay.
Looking good there.
Still lined up with that piece of fascia that we have here.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we have our first corner.
Awesome.
So from here, we're just gonna repeat that process on the other corner, and then we'll be able to stick everything in place.
Sounds good.
So we have both of our corners set to the right height, and now we're gonna add in some stakes to hold that position temporarily. So the stakes that I'm gonna be using are metal stakes. These are great because they are readily available, and these ones in particular come with pre-drilled holes, which is great because it's one less thing I have to do. Now, of course, you could also use wooden stakes. Those are just fine. But for the area that I'm in, the soil is really rough and full of rocks, so these are great. So I'm gonna go ahead and stake these both in, and then I'm gonna continue leveling the front of this, and then I'll square my form after that. I'm just gonna bring out that 2x4 again, do the same process where we measure down to 30 inches to make sure the front of the form is at the correct height. So while I'm doing this, I just want to make sure that I have a foot or something against here so that your form doesn't move over while you're driving in these stakes. Okay, it feels really good there. I'll just do one more here on the back side. There we go. I'm just going to attach that with those holes already in there. There we go. I don't need to go all the way through. Something like that should be just fine. Do the same thing over here. All right, there we go. So now I know that the back of my form is going to stay right where it needs to be. I'm 1/8 off. There we go. Boom. All right, so now we know that our form is parallel to the deck frame, it's level, and we've squared it up.
Yep.
So now we're ready to start installing our stringers. Okay, all right, so before we do this, I think it's important to point out that this would be the perfect time to mark out the pattern for your fascia that you're gonna be using, okay? Obviously that depends on the design that you're going with, but in our case, we're gonna have fascia on both sides of our stairway. So the way that we'll be doing our design, we know that that fascia is going to be flush with the top of our deck boards and also flush with our fascia here on the risers. So what we need to do in this case is we'd have a little mock-up, or you could just simply trace this out and measure the distances or thicknesses of what you have. But since we already have this mock-up, we just laid this pattern on top of that Trex fascia, put this on top, we would trace this top, trace the riser, and then continue working our way down.
Yep, very simple process.
All right.
Now
so
what happens if the stringers were already installed and then we remembered we need to trace out
Yeah.
or cut our fascia, is there another option?
Sure, with most things in the deck, there's always different options you can do. I think this is the easiest, just pre-planning, right? Take care of it now, but there is another way, and I'll show you how to do that after we get both our treads in and our risers installed.
Sounds good.
Okay. With the support block, this becomes incredibly easy.
Yeah, you don't even need me to hold those for you.
Well, it also helps that we have our form at the bottom, working as a temporary support as well. So that is an important thing to remember. These will be coming back out once we permanently install all of our stringers.
And
there we go. Just make sure that it's tied up against the back. There we go.
super nice too when this block comes out after the stringers are attached. Everything will be right where we want them.
Yep. All the heights of the stairs will be in the exact same location.
Yep.
There we go. Last one.
I'll set that for you.
All right.
Cool.
Here we go. Easy
Starting to
enough,
look like
right?
stairs.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's coming together. All right, so from here we're going to be installing our front rim board of the stairway. So let's go grab that.
All right.
Now we're ready to put this rim board in. Couple notes about this and how to find the dimensions of your rim board in particular. So the width of this rim board is going to be determined by obviously the width of our outside stringers, which again is going to match that support block, and in this case also matches our header. So that's how we got our width, but also we have to think about getting that height, right? So obviously this is just 2x material, and we rip that down to 6.5 inches, because in our case that's going to be the height of our bottom stringer. So obviously in your case, you're just going to have to rip it to whatever dimension you have on the height of that stringer. So let's go ahead and tack this in place.
Okay.
We've got our 3-inch fasteners on each side. That's just going to help us hold it in place while we can work on it and put some larger fasteners in.
Sounds good. And this should be flush, right?
Right.
On the top and the side here.
Exactly. Okay, so a couple reasons why this is great. Number one, it's going to tie everything together. You can see once we attach all of these stringers to that rim board, this is going to be one solid construction.
Yep.
Okay, the other thing it does though, if you plan accordingly, we have the layout for all of our stringers on this front rim board as well. So we did that just by matching the pattern up here, and now we know that all the spaces in between those stringers are going to be equal at the bottom. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get this part in over here.
All right.
Again, making sure that I'm flush with the top, the side, and the bottom. And there we go.
Great.
So with that in, we can put some larger fasteners on both the ends and the second stringer in on both sides.
Okay.
The reason we're going to be doing that is we're going to have a post on both sides in this position right here. But because we're using a pretty large fastener, this is a 5-inch SDWS timber screw, we need to make sure that we pre-drill whenever we're connecting those stringers. First of all, this is pretty thin material to have such a large fastener go into, so that's why pre-drilling is really going to help. But also because we're so close to the end, it's really important to pre-drill.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's go ahead and get started on that, and then we'll put these outside fasteners in.
Great. And I have my marks made, 2 inches from the top and 1 inch from the bottom for pre-drilling.
Perfect. All right, so we have those 5-inch timber screws in. Now we have to make a choice.
Okay.
We could either continue attaching our rim board to the bottom of those stringers, or we can start installing our bottom post here. What do you want to do?
It makes a little more sense to me to start on the posts, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Neither way is right or wrong, but in that case, with these stringers still loose, we'll be able to move those out of the way to get our fasteners into the side of that post.
Okay, yeah, definitely start on the posts
Yeah,
then.
I think that'll be perfect.
All right.
All right, if you don't mind, just come over here and we'll
Sure.
start working on this first post together.
No problem. Grab this.
Okay, drop that in place. And then I've got my post level here. And these are great because they have 2 levels, because obviously we need to plumb it both this way and this direction. Let's go ahead and slide that over. There we go.
Actually,
Okay,
we're
so
pretty close.
I'm gonna work down here. Well, that's good. It's a good place to start, right?
Yep.
All right, so I'm tight against the bottom here. Need to be tight in this corner first. And now we can start by working this direction.
Got it. So this is exactly where we want to be.
Yeah?
Do we need it to be a little
just a
closer
tiny
down
bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
I'll just hold this in position.
Yep, we're good right
Good?
here. Yep.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and tack that in place so we know that that's not going to move out of plumb. Okay. Good. So I can see that I have a bit of a gap. It's no problem. I'm just going to bring in a shim And that way, whenever we go to fasten the front of our rim board to this, it's not gonna pull us out of plumb. Okay, so now let's look at it this direction.
There. All right, we are right where we want to be.
Okay. So same thing, just tacked in one more fastener, and now that'll hold plumb while we actually fasten it permanently. Okay, so to do that, we're going to be using the same 5-inch timber screws. We'll have 2 go through the front rim board into our post. Same thing on the side, 2 more fasteners, again going into the post, and finally we'll have 1 fastener going in through the second stringer into the post, tying everything together. Okay, so obviously you'll be able to tell with all of that, it's going to be a really sturdy post.
Yeah.
Okay, so same rules apply. We're going to be 2 inches down from the top, 1 inch up from the bottom, but we do need to keep in mind that as we put in these side fasteners, we don't want to intersect with those. So we'll move that around about 1/4 of an inch just to make sure they don't hit each other.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make these 2-inch marks.
I'll help you out on this side.
Okay.
Now while I'm doing this, quick question.
Yeah.
Why didn't we put cement in these holes first like we did with our footings?
Right, so why didn't we pour a footing first and then just drop it on top?
Exactly.
Well, because this isn't actually supporting our stairway. Okay, the stairway is going to be supported by resting on top of that concrete pad. So that's where the structure comes from.
Okay.
What we're going to be doing instead is we've dropped our post. We'll be pouring concrete all the way around that post, which will support that, but we're going to continue pouring. So this will be one piece, one pad all together.
Okay.
So that pad won't be able to move around.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right.
Very good.
So I think we're ready to go ahead and start pre-drilling.
Great.
So I'm going to have you start on that side.
Sure thing.
And then I'll do these 2 up here. It's in there, but you did it.
All right, our posts are secure and plumbed, so I guess the next thing that we need to do is secure the rest of our stringers to the rim board, right?
Exactly, yeah, we're ready to move on.
Great. Now, are we still using those 5-inch timber screws?
No, so for these middle 3 stringers, we're going to be switching to these 3-inch SDWS framing screws.
Okay.
Same way that we did those 5-inch fasteners, we'll have 2 going through the rim board into every stringer.
Okay.
2 inches down from the top, 1 inch up from the bottom.
Sounds good.
Okay. So the first thing we'll have to do then is knock these back into position. Again, we do have our layout, so let's just knock those into position, and then we'll use our speed square to make sure that they're straight up and down.
Good reminder.
Okay. Okay, so now we're under the stairway, and we need to go back to talk about the 2 forces that are going to be enacted on the stairway. So one of those are going to be the lateral forces, which we've dealt with the installation of our header, but we still need to deal with those vertical forces. So to take care of that, we're going to be installing these MSTA 15Z strap ties. So these are going to be installed just like this here at the top. They'll connect our header to those stringers. But we also have other options, as we do with most things with deck building. You could also use an L70, which would go in the corner here, again making that attachment from stringer to header. And there's also a special bracket that would attach to the header first, and then you would sit your stringer down inside that and attach that all together. This is just the method I prefer, but every one of these options would be fine. So to install this strap, first thing I'll do is line that up with the top of our header here, and now I have a place to bend that. I'm just going to go ahead and give that a bend. And now you can also see the importance of that bevel that we created. So now that strap is going to lay flush with our stringer. Looks really good right there. So from here, I'm just going to hold that in place, and I'll get a fastener in here at the bottom and then at the top. And then I just need to fill in all of these holes with these 1.5" SD connector fasteners. Okay, looks good right there. Okay, there you go. So with that in place, now I can just double check, make sure that goes straight in line with my stringer, and now I can start to fasten the rest of these. I'll be doing the same process every time that I have a stringer to connect that header and stringer. And again, deal with that vertical force.
Hey, look at that.
Support block is coming off.
Definitely. Big moment.
Yeah, so we have all of the straps installed. Our stringers are fully attached to our rim board, and both of our posts are fully supported. This entire assembly is fully structurally supported.
Yes, and we treated the cuts that we made for our stringers, which
definitely.
is a super important step because we cut pretty deep on those. So definitely want to make sure we didn't skip that.
Yep.
And I brought us some Trex Protect
All right, perfect.
to also put over the tops of these stringers. Just
Yeah.
gonna help extend the life of those a little bit.
Yeah, again, I really do think it's important to take some extra time to protect the stringers. You obviously know a lot of people are going to be coming in and out,
Yeah.
a lot of weight, right? A lot of things happening here. So it is good to protect this investment.
Yep.
Spent a lot of time building this.
And we've got fasteners drilling down into the top,
Yep.
so that's gonna wrap right around them and keep that
Exactly.
water.
Seal on the fastener,
Yep,
right? Exactly.
exactly.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so all of our Trex Protect tape is installed. Now we're ready to move on to installing our treads and our risers.
Yeah, almost finished.
Really is a pretty big step, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty bad.
I see what you did there.
Okay, so let's start by talking about the two ways we could install this. We could start with our risers first and then just bring in our treads just like that.
Okay.
Or we could do it the way we're going to be doing it, where we bring in the treads first and then install the risers on top just like that.
Now, depending on what you do is really just based on your design, right?
Yeah, it's just preference.
Okay.
Either one works fine, but we've already designed it out this way. And the reason we did that is that as we bring in these square edge boards, this is going to give us a really nice reveal.
Okay.
And it's also going to give us a 3/4 inch overhang past this fascia.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay, yeah, I like it. That square edge does look really nice.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yep.
So, because we're using square edge boards though, we can't use those hidden fasteners in between because there's no groove for it to set in.
Makes sense.
So what we're going to do instead is go back to those color match fasteners that we've
Okay.
used before. These are going to be surface mount. So let's go ahead and get the first tread in place.
Okay.
I'm going to do that by making sure that I'm flush with the edge of the stringers. Good.
I'm good over here.
All right. Okay, so you can also see that when we remove that support block, we're able to install the rest of our spacers when we bring in that fascia.
Got it.
Okay, so now we're ready to attach this. As we're attaching this, a couple things we need to think about. Okay, we need to stay an inch from the end and an inch in from the edge every time we put a fastener in. We're also going to be fastening to the tops of all of our stringers, so every time that you see this deck board on the stringer, we're going to put 2 fasteners in there.
Okay.
So I'm going to get started on this side, but because we're so close to the edge and the ends, I really think it's always a best practice to pre-drill first.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start on this side, you start on that side, and then we can just meet in the middle.
Sounds good to me. All right, so we have the treads on our stairs, we've put the fascia on our risers,
Yep.
and we have one piece of fascia over here on that side of the steps.
Yeah, it's almost done.
Yeah, it is very exciting. So for that piece of fascia, I used one of the stringers as a template to
Right,
trace
just
that
mark it out.
Yeah, which was super easy, but you said that there was another way we could do
Yeah.
it after the fact.
Absolutely.
So we still have one that we need to do. Where do we
The
start
last
for
part of
that?
the puzzle, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you didn't pre-plan, or maybe you just prefer to do it a different way, there is a way to do this with all of our stringers already installed. So to do this, we're going to go back to this little template that we made, this little pattern that gives us our rise and our run.
Yep.
Okay, but if you did use a framing square with those clamps, that'll work just as well. Just go ahead and set that same rise and run of what your stairway is. So what we'll do is we have a piece of Trex fascia here. That's what we're going to be using as the material for the side of those stairs. Let's just bring that template in, and this is going to give us our plumb cut.
Okay.
That'll be the cut that we have right here. That'll go tight against that rim joist. I'll just mark this out, and then I want to make sure I extend that line all the way down.
Okay.
What we'll do from here is we'll just match the number of steps that we have so that we can find the bottom of that stairway, and that's going to give us our flush cut. It's just like that. So you can see this rise right here, that's going to be our bottom step.
Okay.
But that's not important yet. First, we're going to need to get that flush cut, which will be the bottom, and then again, make sure you extend that line all the way across.
Okay.
Okay. So if you do that, cut both of those lines out, you should get something that looks just like this. Now you can see we have our plumb cut up top, so that's that straight up and down, and our flush cut at the bottom. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this tight against our rim joist, just like that. And now we're almost ready to go ahead and trace that out.
Yeah, that seemed easy enough.
Pretty easy, right? Really?
So what should we do about this section here? So this fascia is not wide enough to cover the full staircase.
Cover the entire stairway, right. So again, easy fix. For that, we're just gonna rip down part of that material. Again, this is just Trex fascia. The width of whatever your stairway could be, could be wider. So we'll just put that in tight against that other fascia, so it'll just look like one wider piece of fascia.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna hold this in place, and if you don't mind, just start tracing around all of our risers and all of our treads.
Okay, I think I can handle that.
All right, our stairway is completed.
Yep.
We started with that design and planning phase, and we moved on to cutting out all those stringers, attached everything together structurally, and finally we moved on to installing our treads, risers, and that fascia on the outsides of our stairway.
Yep, and we just need to pour some concrete and we're all set.
Yep, exactly. But before we do that, we're gonna move on to railing, okay? And if you'd like to see a video on that and a whole lot more covering the entire deck building process, you can go to trex.com/academy. Thanks for watching.